Guys, I'm Umair Bhaur. Once again here, as you know that M4 has been released, I think a couple of days and has not reached into my hands. But whatever you people have seen through various YouTube videos and various articles, the same I have experienced through reading. And there are a few things which I want to clearly mention the difference of M3 and M4. I mean, many people have made videos, but I still wanted a need to make. There must be some common things, but I will analyze a few things in a bit more detail. Right? There are some such things that the pistol grip is heavier in the M4. That's good, very good. That is a better change. Most people were installing aftermarket grip. The other thing is there is a slot here, right? That slot was useful to insert Allen key in this screw. That is for probe, right? That is a good change, but these are not major changes, right? So when we come to major changes are that in M4 they have installed another kind of trigger. Please come close. Focus on this. You can see this is not the OEM trigger of M3, right? I have made over the years, I think this M3 is with me for more than 2 years, and this M3 is heavily modified, right? Heavily improved. You can see that this trigger, I'm a bit of trigger snob, so if trigger is not according to my liking, I'm not comfortable. So the worst thing regarding impact has always been its trigger for me. So I'm used to the trigger of HW100 and guns like that raw and like that, right? So it was far away. There is no comparison. It had never been a match gate trigger. So for my gun, what I did, you can see that how light is the first stage, and it always goes back. Whatever you do, this gun is called it is very light first stage, right? And it goes back. This I will put a complete video on this trigger also. I have made a couple of triggers in the past, and I have put the YouTube videos on. But this is the latest one that is the best for me so far, and it has the option of using the safety. Now it's safe. It will not go off, right? So the safety button is also working on this trigger. This is on fire, and now it will fire, right? But the issue that when we used to make the trigger light, the first stage was not usable. That has been resolved in this trigger, right? So this is, I like it very much now. Okay, so I had written many times, I have mentioned on forums and through personal messages to Frederick that this trigger needs to be improved. The OEM trigger of impact needed to be improved. So finally, thanks God, not only me, a lot of other users also wrote on forums, and finally, such as always, FX is good and is a good listener, and they act on according to the needs of the users. So finally, what I have done through the videos, they have improved the trigger, and the trigger is so light that it can go as light as 6 ounces for competition shooting, for target shooting, and that can be brought to the OEM that was just like M3's original trigger, and then for a hunting trigger that may be over 1 pound or something like that, whatever, right? So that improvement in the trigger, that is very special for me and the other people who are trigger snob or who need a light trigger, light and crisp trigger. That is a very important. That is very important advancement, and heads off to UFX for that, right? So that is one major change that is valuable to me, right? Now let's come to other important thing. We will discuss all the things one by one. As far as this trigger is concerned, I don't know the OEM trigger of M4 is concerned. I don't know because the parts list and the all picture that how the parts are arranged in the trigger block, that has not yet come on the FX website, sport website. So I can't comment on whether the new trigger system can be installed in this M3 or not. If it can be installed, that will be great for all those who wanted to upgrade their triggers. But if there is some other arrangement or there are some other places of holes of pins, trigger pins, then I think it will not be possible. Anyhow, so this was the comment on the trigger, and I will let you know once some M1, some M4 comes to my hand, and I personally use and experience the feel of that trigger, then I will be able to explain in a much better way. And similarly, here the slot they have made in the M4, that is very good, because easily through Allen key we can adjust the trigger when here is a slot, right? In this M3 there is no slot, M4 they have made a slot, right? That's good. Logical thing. The other thing is that they have installed a retainer here. When you open it, it itself not go back. I mean, that may be a magnetic retainer or whatever, because this goes like this, like. But in M4 they have made a retainer here, so that is very good for the competitions and things like that. So these are the things that are not. I mean, the most important thing so far I have discussed is the trigger. The rest of things so far I have discussed, that those are not that important to me. They have made the increase the 72cc to 75cc. So there is no much difference in 3cc of plenum. I don't know why they did it. I mean, Frederick might know, but there is no, to me there is no sense in that, right? So now come to another important thing. Just like trigger, the one most important thing that they have done to M4 is that they have deleted the first regulator. This M3 had, for the first time, please come close. M3 was the first model of Impacts when they installed two regulators. One is this one and the other is just like always it had been here, right? So the first regulator, there are some pros and cons of two regulators. Dual regulator system has pros and cons. What I understand that most of the people, most of the users are hunters. And when someone is hunter, it doesn't matter that there is one regulator or there are two regulators, right? Because two regulators help us when we are filling the bottle to 250cc or 300cc. The first regulator breaks that pressure, and we can adjust the first regulator at around 170 or 190, whatever. And the power curve in the second regulator has to face only that pressure which is at which the first regulator has been set. So the power curve is extremely straight. While in whatever level of the good regulator is the second regulator, if we delete the first regulator, then there is a little bit of power curve. So this first regulator was a good thing, but it was very complicated. It was making a lot of complications. Most of the M3s that came to me, they had the problem either of first regulator or the second regulator. There was a tricky problem, one more. That was that these two regulators are interdependent. If first regulator goes south, the second will also misbehave. If the second regulator goes south, the first will also misbehave. So for the user, it was very difficult to know whether the first regulator is out of order or the second regulator is out of order. So most of the time, whenever I have to rebuild the regulator, I rebuild both the regulators. Then they say, FX says that now they have installed a better regulator and two regulator, and they explain that they are installing brass piston instead of Delrin piston. I have been installing Delrin brass piston and T piston, I think for more than 2 years. So I have been making those pistons, and what I have seen, I have installed FX own pistons, those brass pistons, and my personally made pistons. So I even still prefer my personally made brass pistons over the FX pistons. Anyhow, those brass pistons are very good. I hope those will work very good. So these are the pros and cons. But for the extreme accuracy, I think the two regulators is very good. And but for two regulators, one does not need to be just a shooter. He has to be a tuner himself. He has to understand inside out of the gun. But if someone is a hunter, though two regulator were, I mean, this was a headache, right? So this is one of the things. Then the other thing, the one more thing, what they have done to it, that in M3, this was the upper top rail, right? And this is very flimsy. You can see it had flex. Now they have installed a thicker rail, and at the top of that rail they have made a dovetail, right? They have made a dovetail over this. They have made it thicker. So what I had done, I have already made a thicker one, and it's so thicker that no flex is possible in it, right? So I have already installed a thicker backbone on my M3. You can see it. This is very thick. This is very thick, so there is no chance of flexing the whole gun as it is made. by combining 2 or 3 blocks. So this is a good thing that they installed a stronger backbone. This was a long desiring issue to be addressed. And the other thing that they are claiming, there are pros and cons in that too. When they made a dovetail on this, right, they are claiming that now this whole rail can be moved, guiding that dovetail backward and forward, and easily the scope and the eye relief that can be adjusted. Agreed, that is the point. And the other point what they say is that whenever you will reinstall this top rail and the scope, in previous models like this M3, there had been a play as these 3 screws had been clamping this rail with this top rail, this scope rail with this top rail. 2 screws are here and 1 larger screw is here, right? So what was happening whenever we remove this and reinstall this, there was a bit of issue of alignment. So this could be a bit towards right or towards left. So that caused a horizontal shift in the point of impact. But there was a hidden, a hidden secret, I can say, or there was a hidden benefit in that if your scope goes out of alignment horizontally, so you had an option to adjust that, keep the scope optically centered, and by adjusting these 3 screws, you could bring the scope, by keeping the scope on the optical center, you can still bring the crosshair on your point of aim. So that was the benefit. Anyhow, everything has its own pros and cons. So what more is, let me see. Yes, but there are a few things that I would like to say, that this quick tune system, this is in this M3 and the similar system is in M4, right? They have just changed the shape of this wheel. Otherwise, this system, quick tune system, is the same. I have some reservations in this type of quick tune system. This is good for the tuning, but what I have seen that whenever anyone else picks these guns, it always happens that they just turn a few clicks up or few clicks down. So there are children, there are friends, you can't every time ask them not to touch it, not to touch it. It looks awkward sometimes. So I still feel that the system in MK2 that was through Allen key, that was safer. It's just like the tactical turrets and the cap turrets. The cap turrets, that no one touches them, right? Because you have to unscrew. But when there are tactical turrets, so whoever will come and he is not properly in the know, he will touch it and you will go out of that your aim point, right? So these are some good things and bad things which I have, but there is still one important thing, but which I think that FX still need to address. That is the shifting of point of impact. I have talked to Mr. Frederick and he very clearly told me that there is no issue of shifting of point of impact. But when I put whatever he said, I asked him that may I share his views with the users. I put it on the Airgun Nation, and there are hundreds of people who are claiming that impacts are shifting point of impact. So, I mean, I trust Frederick. He must be doing all these great things. He must be doing good. He would be right in some manner. But what I think the user who is spending $2,000 or more, he should not face complaints like that. Even I am not an ordinary user. I reform these things. This gun has been upgraded inside out. Heavily upgraded. You can just, from the appearance of this trigger, you can see that how much this would have been. This appearance of this cocking lever with bearings, you can see that this is the one more upgrade for slower to fix the slower initial shots. So a lot of work has been done inside. This is that work that you can see from the outer side, but inside that is a lot of work that has been done with this M3. So when I talk to Frederick, he says that there is no issue of shifting of point of impact, but when I talk to users, they all have, and I too feel the issue of shifting of point of impact. So what I understand, the most effort was required to fix that complaint of the users. So, but some way, this way or the other way, that complaint was the most important to be addressed. But I don't see that apart from strengthening the backbone that can be helpful in fixing the issue of quantum impact, there is no real changes. I have made some changes in my last videos, few videos I have shared that right in my this impact, I have been using a solid barrel. This barrel is not FX barrel, this is a solid barrel. And this is not touching this cocking system. There are no O-rings, and I have machined this barrel from here to here, a bit down, around half mm down. So when we cock it and remove the O-ring, and when I cock it, nothing is touching the barrel, right? So the contact areas are just this one grub screw and these two screws, LNT screws. No other thing is, rest of the barrel is all free floating. There is no pressure on the barrel, right, except these 3 points. So what I see that after doing this, the issue of shifting of point of impact has been resolved. Even what I have done, this is the fixed hammer fold barrel right now on it, but even in FX liner barrels, I have converted the FX liners into fixed barrel, right? That cannot be reverted, and where we cannot change the liner. If I need some other liner, I make a separate barrel for that. So that is so sturdy and so fixed that cannot be, there is no moving parts in those. So inherently the FX liners are very good for the, as far as accuracy is concerned. But since those are thin and those are flimsy, those are a bit flexible, whatever FX has done so far, even tensioning the barrel and things like that, but I have experienced that by converting the barrel into a solid one and by free floating the barrel as much as possible, we cannot achieve that level of accuracy repeatedly. And it is possible that I can get a very good accuracy one day, but not maybe in the evening. Not maybe I take the gun to some other place and there I don't get that the same point of impact would change. So these are a few things which I wanted to mention here. Right. Yes, the last thing, but not the least, that they have improved the magazine. That is very good because a lot of complaints were there, and people were using aftermarket magazines. Those were very good. And if FX has been providing now the good magazines, that is great. One thing here I share with you that I have been using 3 digital gauges on my this impact, and all are segment gauges. This segment gauge is right now at 125 bar this bottle pressure, right? This is with removable battery, right? It's with removable battery. It has been with me for testing and it's very fine, right? This is rechargeable battery. This is very good also. And this is also with rechargeable battery, and this is working also very good. So these all the 3 gauges are working very fine. So what I understand that M4 is a good gun for the hunters. That is very good gun. And for the competition shooters, what I feel that if the first regulator had been there, I mean, I know that there are a lot of complaints regarding first regulator. FX had to replace a lot of, and FX is very, I mean, what I should say that they are very good in after sales service. Whenever someone claims that their first regulator is going south, they just send, they don't ask much, and they send you the new regulator. But it was, I mean, a lot of problem what I foresee, because the number of guns which came to me with such issues. So from that I can foresee that how much this issue was there. So this is all. I hope I don't feel that M4 is a big leap ahead, but I think that is more reliable. That must be more reliable due to the single reg for the hunters. For the hunters, M4 must be more reliable, right? But for the competition shooters, what I see that competition shooters need 2 regulators. They still need 2 regulators, and they need a match gate trigger. So if there is an option of installing that M4 trigger part into M3, it would be a great combination. So this is all what I wanted to discuss with you. And regarding this trigger, when I will make a video and let you know that how it works and what it is. It is a great trigger, right? Thank you guys. Subscribe my channel, please, because I see that around 80% viewers are not subscribing my channel. Very low subscriptions. Okay. Anyhow, I do all this just for my peace of mind, for my relaxation. This is my hobby. This is not my profession, right? Thank you guys. Bye.